Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be doing our Louisiana Ragin Cajun baseball preview for this upcoming week, in addition to Louisiana Ragin Cajun softball as well. So, without further ado, let me introduce everybody to my co-host here, Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well, Chief. You know, it's another great week to be a Ragin' Cajun fan. Hey, UL baseball team is playing Nichols right now as we speak.
Yeah, they are. Currently, I haven't really got a. We'll check in on that game here, or maybe by the end we'll get an official score here. Pretty soon here. They are playing Nichols right now. As far as I saw in 7 innings, they're beating them. They beat them in 7 innings, I think. Yeah, 13-3. Cajuns win tonight. That's what it looks like
Oh,
here.
so they
I
already won.
I, I think
That's
it's
great.
over with here, Jalen. So 13-3 win for the Cajuns here tonight here on the Fishbowl. So let me just make sure. And I think that yeah, that 11 minutes ago was the final posted. Make it a dozen, 12 straight wins for the Cajuns. So look, okay, this was something that I'm worried about the Cajuns though. And everybody's like, why are you worried about the Cajuns? They're on a great run. That's the thing. They're on a great run. They haven't lost a game since the Arkansas State game. Now, Old Dominion, they swept through them, had an RPI of 61. Texas State, who is usually a good baseball club, which they are, is still in again this year, and they're 101 in RPI. Nichols, 94 RPI. Cajuns took care of business here. So the next two series for the Cajuns are looking kind of somewhat light. You got ULM and then Marshall. Marshall isn't doing that hot this year. They're 9-18. ULM sitting right there about 500 right now. Cajuns take them on for a 3-game series at Teague Field at Russo Park at Teague Field. So look, and then you got that big series against Coastal, which will be on the road in Conway. So the Cajuns have two home stretches there. Basically, they had Nichols at home, which started their home run so far. Then they got 3 games against ULM at home, Prairie View AM in the midweek at home, Louisiana Tech at home, Marshall 3-game series at home. So that's 3, 4, 5. You got 7 straight games of the Cajuns at home. They could very well make this a 19-game winning streak by the time they by the time they leave Lafayette for the first time and go to Hammond. So you're wondering, well, Chief, why are you so concerned here? Because baseball, you go through these streaks of hot and cold. Now, granted, it's exciting. The Cajuns are leading the country right now and winning in a winning streak so far with 12 active streaks, that is. So it's very tough to get on a run and win 12 straight games, regardless. Very great accomplishment for the Cajuns here. Him and Matt Deggs, they're really hot right now. Pitching and batting and fielding. They're doing what they got to do to win these games here. I was surprised they swept Texas State. I thought they were going to take 2 or 3, which I did call here on the Fishbowl Radio. But it was a very weird one because it was like, okay, you got them in a situation where, okay, you won Friday night 4-1, 4-1. Then you you blew up the Saturday game 16-5. Then Texas State 7-6. Now you blow up again against Nichols 13-3. So the bats are hot, but we still got almost a whole nother month of baseball after April. Once April ends, you still got Troy, Jackson State, Georgia Southern, and South Alabama. So 18 days in May. So you got 3, 4, 7. You got 10 games in May that you still have to play once you get through April here. So I would have loved the Cajuns to start this streak right at Southeastern. I think that would have been the time to really get hot, like between Southeastern and Southern Miss, because you'll be getting in the conference tournaments kind of time and really start. Like once you hit May, basically, is like probably the prime time to get hot and really take a deep run in the tournament. So, with that being said, though, if the Cajuns can keep winning these games, it's going to be really tough to keep them out the conversation, right? For at large and everything else. Right now, currently live RPI tracking, they're at 46 right now. So, they're getting they're getting that good run. They're leading the Sun Belt right now. Their conference record's 8-1. A 12-game winning streak, 9-game winning streak at home, 5-game road winning streak. strength of schedule right now, Cajun is kind of high. They're at 96, non-conference strength of schedule 146. So schedule isn't the toughest. What's hurting the Cajuns a little bit more is the fact that, they got some teams that we expected the Cajuns to have better records, like LSU struggling in SEC play. Rice isn't really doing that good. Rice State, they're 14-13. Now Vanderbilt's doing really good, which is good for the Cajuns because they're 23-6. Tulane's 15-13. Louisiana Tech, they're doing pretty good. Cajuns beat them too. But a lot of their teams they've played so far are around 500 or a little bit above 500. LSU's 20-10. They lost that one. But it's Houston, they're 15-12. So the non-conference strength of schedule, like we talked about, is 146. So it's gonna make it kind of tough on the Cajuns a little bit because the quality of competition they've played against, if you're looking at overall records and stuff, is not really, in terms of like strength of schedule and stuff, it isn't really that impressive non-conference wise or just strength of schedule in general in 96. And that worries me. That worries me when you get into these tournaments and this NCAA tournament for sure with the regionals, and because you're playing against the 64 best teams in the country. So, and that's why I look more at quadrant records than I do of RPI over anything else. The ELO for the Cajuns right now, they're 1-2 in quadrant one, 3-0 in quadrant two. RPI quadrants, they're 0-2 in quadrant one, 5-1 in quadrant two. And quadrant three and quadrant four, or 7-1 in quadrant three, 9-4 in quadrant four. So with that there, Matt Dex has been kind of mixing up his lineup a little bit, moving guys around, getting different starts. So we'll see how that goes. They haven't really had they'll do the starting pitcher for like 2 or 3 innings, and they'll bring in their middle reliever, which the Cajun starting pitchers ain't really going into 5 innings like they used to way back in the Gap under 20 Robo Show. They've kind of had to do this kind of hybrid kind of thing go on, and I think that's really paid dividends for the Cajuns. They keep their arms fresher in the bullpen. They have a lot of guys in there, so we'll see what happens with the Cajuns as they go into this series against ULM, which the way the Cajuns are playing, I think they sweep ULM. ULM isn't really looking all too that impressive this year, and I think they'll continue to have very good success as long as they continue doing what they're doing. If the bats stay hot, they're going to have a very good runs through this series. What you thinking, Jalen?
Yeah, I'm thinking also Chief, and I think to reiterate what your point is saying, that you feel like that they're doing great, but it's like, okay, they should be doing this at the back end of the season when it's closer to May, when it's closer to that Sun Belt tournament. But I mean, like we've been saying, I mean, winning 11 straight, or excuse me, not 12 straight, beating Nichols. I mean, that's quite impressive. And what's crazy is that they have 9 straight games, including starting when they play Nichols, beat them. They have 8 more at home. I mean, that's a lot to go for a team. And in that they go from Nichols to a series with ULM, Prairie View A&M 1 game, Louisiana Tech, and then go into a struggling Marshall team. I mean, they go back on the road. They don't go back on the road for another like 2 weeks to take on Southeastern. But I think they are peaking at the right time. But you just don't want them to peak too much to the point where they start losing games that they should win, because they're killing it right now in the Sun Belt. They only lost 1 game in the Sun Belt so far this year. I'm pretty sure, like we said, that's to Arkansas State. Now that away record is only 1 loss, 8-1. I mean, they're playing great on the road so far this year. We're gonna see if they're gonna keep it up. But I like how you talked about too with Matt Diggs changing up the lineups. Like he's still even this point through the season, he's still trying to figure out his guys. He's still trying to figure out who to put the lead hitter, who to put, you know, as far as when it comes to pitching also, because you got to get the right guy against the right team and which day it is. You know how everything goes with baseball, Chief. The same pitcher can't pitch 2 days in a row. We all know that. So, but this Cajuns team, they're playing great so far. They just need to keep it up, and I wanna see what they do at the back end of the season, because at the beginning of the season they had losses to not only Houston and LSU and Vanderbilt, like 3 teams who are 2 of those who are ranked right now. I mean, so you don't want to see them lose early games like that, but they're beating the teams they need to beat. But when it gets to the end of the season, and you play teams like Georgia Southern in the last series against South Alabama, games like that before the tournament when everybody is trying to get into the big dance. It's we're gonna see really what this team is made of.
Yeah, so the Cajuns so far have 5 guys so far that are hitting over 300, which is very good if you keep track of baseball stats there. Josh Alexander leads them in batting average at 310. John Taylor at 307. Kyle DeBarge, who is preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year, uh, 304. Jose Torres, 301. Lee Amadei, 301 as well. So, as far as like home runs and stuff go, Kyle DeBarge is leading the way with 8 so far in the home run category. But I don't really look at home runs. I like looking at RBIs and how you do whenever you get guys in. Your on base percentage is really the biggest factor, I think, with that there. So, you look at on base percentage and Mason Zambo as well in that 310 category. Hold on, I miscounted. I'm not good at math, guys. I apologize, but the Cajuns have 7 guys that are hitting over 300. So look, they're hitting the ball very well. I mean, if you're getting on base percentage for some guys is just look, they have. I'm not going to count guys only batted at one time because it's like he has a let's see, trailer for a 458 on base percentage. Don Taylor, 411. Mandino, 405. Lee Amadei, Mason Zambo, 400. Caleb Stelly, 400. Caldebar, 383. So, look, you're getting on base. You're doing what you got to do, and that's what you want. So, the runners in scoring position stat is something that I really look into here because that's where you're going to find like how good are you are getting guys across. How guys like when you get them in scoring position, second or third base, like just getting the ball, hitting the ball, left center, right center, or just getting a base hit. Home runs are nice when they come, but you want to be able to score these guys once they get on base here. And you don't want to leave guys on base because that's how you lose ball games. So that's really what's been the thing for the Cajuns so far this year. So far with ERA, if you're looking at appearances on the pitching side for the Cajuns here, so far, Andrew Herman is leading the Cajuns in ERA at 2.12, 7 appearances so far. But if you're looking at the most appearances, we've seen Blake Marshall a good bit here, Chase Morgan, Matthew Halsheimer with 12. They're hitting 235. I mean, not hitting 235, pitching 235 ERA, Blake Marshall 238. Chase Morgan 215. So they're keeping it under 2 runs earned. I mean, that's something you want to look at here. So, I mean, you're looking at guys that we thought were going to be like the bona fide for like the Friday night guy, Jack Martinez having a 484. It's kind of interesting, but he's bounced back somewhat. So it's going to be seeing how deep this bullpen can go here. Andrew Herman has pitched the most innings. He had 34. LP and Chase Morgan, 29. Jack Martinez, 22. Carson Fluno, 21. David Christie, 19. And then you got like that's what you want. But I've seen them been using Jack Martinez later in game, like around 7th inning, they'll bring him in, and he does a very good job. Like that 2 or 3 inning stint that I talk about, he's kind of become the Cajuns' almost closer, basically, in a way. So that's what you want on your team. So, and the ability, like the Cajuns have done a very good job of just pitching and getting things done with there. So that's what you really need to look at here. So, if you look at rankings here, the Cajuns rank very well in pitching. They are, I think, last I checked was 11th in strikeouts in the country. And I think that might be a little bit dated after tonight. I want to see if they have any updated um like tonight, like updated rankings with like base pitching and stuff. So let's see. Not RPI. I don't want. Oh, that's just whole rankings. Let's take a look at stats. But yeah, like the Cajuns as a team, they're looking at strikeouts here. The Cajuns were way up there. Let me see that strikeout to wall. I want to look at the strikeouts per 9 innings here because I think the Cajuns might be kind of on top of this list here somewhere. Actually, I'm kind of shocked they're not in the top 10. I know they were like top, they're 26, which is still pretty good. So you're really getting like they're at 285 with strikeouts per 9 innings. So they're getting like 10 strikeouts a game basically for the Cajun other team. Not too bad if you're really looking at it that way. So if you're just looking at pure strikeout numbers, uh, let's see. Um, the Cajuns are. I wish it would give me like the actual rank of this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Because they have Louisiana Tech at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So the Cajuns are 20th in that regard. Now, this was last updated yesterday, so that might change. So it wasn't even there's 3 games on Sunday. So their strikeouts per 9 innings. I want to see if they have pure change strikeouts, which I don't think they do. Their strikeout to walk ratio, walks allowed per 9 innings. So it's very detailed. So I mean, you look at that there. They also give her like a runners in scoring position kind of thing. Let's see what they do with runs. Let's see. It might just be straight up runs. I don't know if they're gonna have a running and scoring position. No, games and runs. Yeah, so Tennessee has the most runs. So yeah, that doesn't really help anybody too much there. So yeah, we got that going on. So anyway, just trying to see what happens here with the Cajuns here. I think runners in scoring position is a stat that they really need to add to this on NCAA's website, but I don't really see it on here. Maybe I'm just missing it, but look, it is what it is. Fielding percentage is huge, especially when you get later in the year. But right now, Cajuns baseball is definitely chugging along, and they're doing what they got to do here. So they're playing the bottom 2 Sun Belt schools this week coming up for. You got ULM and Marshall, and they're combined. Sun Belt record 6-12. They're both 3-6 in Sun Belt play. Not looking too good. RPIs are high, so that's gonna might inflate the Cajuns RPI a little bit, but they're under 50 right now, so that's good. If they keep it going here, I think they'll sweep ULM. What you thinking, Jalen?
Oh yeah, I'm thinking 100% that they'll sweep ULM, and then with that series after that, which is a couple after Louisiana Tech and Prairie View, A&M. I think they'll also sweep this Marshall team, and like you said, I think that winning streak could keep going all the way until they go to Hammond on the road against Southeastern.
Yeah, I mean, like the Cajuns are just on a tear right now. They have a lot of home games, and it's going to really help them out. But anyway, now let's take a look at Ragin Cajuns softball. They have a winning streak of their own going on themselves here. The turning point of the season for them was the win over Oklahoma. It was getting kind of worrying some a little bit. They kind of got off to a rocky start, but they seemed like they gathered themselves, extending that Sun Belt regular season series record, winning with wins over Coastal, App State, and South Alabama themselves. So they won those 3 straight series. Last loss they had was to Louisiana Tech 3-5 in Ruston, but they got 2 good series for them coming up: James Madison and Texas State. So Texas State's actually ranked this year. They're ranked number 23. Cajuns gonna have a tough time against them, and then they got to deal with at LSU. So a rematch of that regional last year in Baton Rouge. So we'll see what happens there. But Sam Landry picked up pitcher of the week of the Sun Belt. So right now, but the Cajuns are having a really high RPI. So they're at 21. Their non-conference RPI is 27. Strength of schedule 6. Non-conference strength of schedule first. They have the toughest non-conference schedule, and for them to only be 24-13 is a testament to what they've done. And they're 15-13 in non-conference. So their quadrant 1 record is 9-13. This is what I mean by playing teams that are really good, because you're kind of used to what the regional is going to bring. Now, if they could have got a win against Texas, because that one that lost 4-5, they had jumped on Texas and they just couldn't hold on to a lead there. But They've had a lot of good wins here, so I think the Cajuns are gonna look pretty good here. Will they sweep James Madison? It's kind of tough to say. They haven't. Um, they've done very well though. So looking at it here, I want to look at these stats here and see what they have to say about like them with the sports. Let's see. Let's take a look at this real quick here. Pull this softball stats real quick. Right now, I think the team that beats Oklahoma, obviously, this year. I mean, you look at across the board, they've been at the top. And, the Cajuns almost gave that one away, basically, too, which is what I saw. And I was like, ooh, it's kind of rough. So let's look at win-loss percentage. I don't know if that's what I want because that's a misleading metric. I really don't really care for it too much. I like the strength of schedule, batting average. I always want to see who's hitting home runs per game. Who's a big power team right now? So let's see here. Team. I'll sort it by team. That way I can kind of like to see where everybody's at easier. Cajun are 46 in home runs. Yeah, like they're looking really good right now, the Cajuns here. We'll just see what happens here. So I'm thinking that I think I'm gonna got them taking 2 or 3 against James Madison because I just think they might slip up one. If they don't slip up there, they'll probably slip up against Texas State, which is understandable, top 25 matchup. But they're used to being in this kind of situation. So it's gonna be one of those that, you got Sam Landry pitching in the circle. She's starting to come around. It's like she got her confidence back. So that is something you really like to see. And it's always nice to kind of have that kind of vibe back with the locker room and stuff. So we'll see what happens here, and we'll just continue along and see what happens. What you thinking, Jalen, about this upcoming series against James Madison?
Yeah, I'm thinking for this Cajun softball team, they can't overlook a team like JMU. Even though they have after that, they're playing Texas State, and like we're saying, who's also ranked right up there with them. Um, I think honestly, though, Chief, I think they'll take these three against James Madison. And the reason I say that is because they have them at home, but it's not just that they're playing right there at Lansing. I think these girls know that if they beat JMU, the biggest test for them the rest of the season is right after the series against JMU because they have to go to San Marcos, play a Texas State team who's ranked in a 3-game series, and then they have to go to Baton Rouge and play LSU, who's one of the best teams in the nation this year. So, I mean, we talking about like these quadrant one wins, these wins against great teams. I mean, it starts with JMU, but the bulk of it is Texas State and LSU. Like if they take 2 of 3 of Texas from Texas State and they could go and beat an LSU team, I mean, we're you talking about hosting a regional. I think that's a statement. That's a statement. You got to make a statement right there. Not already making a statement when they beat Oklahoma. They won 15 of the last 16, which including that win against Oklahoma. They won 6 straight. But I mean, going into all that, they're also undefeated in the Sun Belt. That's going in the back of their minds too. Which I feel like I think that they eventually will lose a Sun Belt game, which I think could be to this Texas State team. What I'm thinking, but if they want to gain any great wins, and we're talking about hosting the regional quadrant one wins, that's what the committee likes. That's why Coach Glasgow made the schedule the way it is. It's getting to the middle of April. May is right around the corner. So if you want to get some wins, the time is now. I mean, it's the time is now. You have to sneak with these wins. The Cajuns are a great team, and you just got to go out there and prove it.
So yeah, like the way that you look at this here and the way this sets up here, I do think they'll drop one to Texas State. If I had to because if you look at like the non-conference and you're looking at, James Madison is a quadrant 2 win if they do beat them. Texas State would be a quadrant 1 if they would win that series. LSU be a quadrant 1 win. So that 4-game stretch with Texas State and LSU is going to determine a lot. And then they have LSU again at home on April the 23rd. So they're gonna have two chances at LSU. So they could take one of those. You're setting yourself up really well for a regional, is all I'm saying, because LSU's been very impressive this year. They're 30-4. So I mean, you got to make us. You got to. I think you got to win one of those because you'll have a top 10 win again, and then you'll have Oklahoma. This is something they really need to buckle down and get this done with because they split it with against Oklahoma. So and I think they need a little bit more just to push them over. They're perfect in quadrant two. They're 6-0. Now, if we're gonna do, I like the predicted results. This thing it has the Cajuns finishing 39-17 and 21-3 in the Sun Belt. So it's got them dropping 3 games in the Sun Belt. Dang. So this thing here, which I'm kind of shocked that the predictor actually did this here. It's got them losing. It's got them winning Friday against James Madison, losing Saturday at James Madison, and winning Sunday against James Madison. I'm like, okay, that's kind of understandable. That's my conservative prediction anyway. But it's got them getting swept by Texas State.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that one either. I think because this the way that the Cajuns are the standard, and it's playing into the numbers here. It's got them beating LSU 8-1, which I can see, but yeah, it's got them losing to them in the second matchup. It's got them winning in Baton Rouge and losing in Lafayette. So that's understandable there. Then they got them sweeping Southern Miss, UOM, Troy, winning McNeese again. So yeah, they look like they're gonna have a very good run, but that sweep by Texas State that the predictor has them doing, I don't think it's gonna happen here. Um, I like where the Cajuns are at. It's got them finishing 11 in RPI, which would great. That should be good enough for a regional spot, and shouldn't send in the Baton Rouge if the committee is not lazy, because it's good. Like they feel like it looks like you're competing with LSU at that point, because it's like if we give a regional spot to LSU and Louisiana, it'd just be lazy for them. I don't think they should really taking the fact that like both these teams are so close by that they're like just pick one regional or whatever. I'd rather them if they wanted it to be that way, ship the Cajuns out somewhere or ship LSU out somewhere because they didn't win enough big games last year. I felt when they went into it to deserve a regional spot, but there was a potential one. It was kind of close to me. This year, I really personally think if they could very well sweep Texas State. And I
Yep.
think that would be good enough for a regional spot. I think we got to really start talking about regionals here for softball and stuff because you're starting to get in the numbers here. A sweep by Texas State should get them in because that's 3 wins against top 25. Then you got to win against Oklahoma, and you play the toughest schedule in the country by that point, basically. How many more top 25 teams do you want this team to actually beat by that point? Because if you look at the numbers here, the numbers don't lie. LSU's kind of struggled in conference against like these SEC schools. They're still 30-4. But I think if the Cajuns were to actually beat LSU at least once, I think you still got to give them a regional spot because you would have 3 wins over Texas State. Let me go back to the regular one here and just kind of see where the RPI team sheet and see where they have it. They dropped 1 spot since March 31st, which is Sunday. So it has their quadrant one games that they played so far this year: Oklahoma, Stanford, Texas, Baylor, California, and Mississippi State. So you have all those schools here. And Miami, the 26 through 50, Miami, Ohio, Liberty, South Alabama, McNeese, and Louisiana Tech. So that's their record. Their record right now is 9-13 in quadrant one, which we talked about, 6-13 in non-conference, which could very well play against them. But now in the predicted one, like we talked, the predictors got them losing Texas State. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll end up winning that series. I think they'll take 2 or 3 at least. 13-18 overall, 8-14 in non-conference. Let's see. It's got them 3 losses to Texas State. Now, if you flip that Texas State, if you flip it to a sweep for the Cajuns, you're looking at 16-15 overall in quadrant one. And that's over 31 games in quadrant one being played. You got Oklahoma, Texas, LSU, Stanford, Baylor, Texas State, Cal, Mississippi State, Miami, Ohio, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, James Madison, McNeese, in South Alabama. It's got them losing one in James Madison. They could very well sweep James Madison, but I think right now Cajuns are a very good spot to host a regional. It's going to depend though. If they sweep James Madison, they got to get through James Madison before they can the get through Texas State. So they take care of that. They should be in a great position to host it as a regional host, I would believe here. And I'd be very disappointed in the committee if they would to choose not to give the Cajun a host spot. What do you think about all that, Jalen?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Chief. Like, I would be very disappointed if the committee does not give the Cajuns host a regional right there at Lansing. I mean, especially let's say, like we talking about, if they win, let's say sweep JMU and they go to Texas State, they win 2 or 3, or they sweep Texas State and they beat LSU in one of these 2 games. I mean, you cannot deny them a regional. You just can't at that point. You can't. And if they do, something has got to be said about the committee. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna need new members that votes this stuff and picks these teams or what, but uh, I'll tell you one. Jerry Glasgow this year, he said this team is hosting a regional, and he did a perfect job with the schedule. The team is playing; they're beating great teams, and I think they deserve to host a regional.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here now. Super regional, is it there? I don't think they're going to give the Cajun a super regional spot, but um, even like if they finish 11, they still wouldn't. They would have to be in the top 8 basically to host a super regional, or they can, maybe someone loses or whatever. So the thing is, I think if they host them a regional, they're going to probably put them at 16 seed, which would be very disappointing in that too, because you're basically like, yeah, like it's just disrespectful at that point because they would have to go probably to Oklahoma. Like you're literally giving them the hardest road, and it wouldn't be I don't think it would be fair, honestly, but because they've already played each other, would you want to see that again? It's kind of like the thing there. But anyway, I think they're in a good spot, and I think we'll keep going that way. So thank you for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. We'll see you here next time here, wherever you're watching us at here. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, follow. We are constantly pushing updates on the Fishbowl. We are probably the most active social media podcast here in Acadiana. And I would bet money on it, honestly. I feel like we're the most active on all our social media platforms. So yeah, y'all follow us here, and it should be a great one. Great series coming up for baseball and softball. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you here next time here on the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.